On the morning of May 12, 1940, the sky above the Liege-Tongeren-Maastricht Road in Belgium trembled with the roar of radial engines. 18 Breguet 693 aircraft, light twin-engine ground attack planes of the French Air Force, streaked low over German motorized columns. Their Hispano-Suiza cannons spat fire, and bombs rained onto the advancing panzer divisions. Within minutes, German anti-aircraft guns responded with devastating precision. 8 of the 18 aircraft fell in flames, their crews lost in a desperate bid to stem the tide of the German blitzkrieg. This was the Breguet 693's baptism of fire, a machine born from France's urgent need to counter the growing threat of modern warfare, yet hampered by the chaos of a nation unprepared for the storm of World War II. In the mid-1930s, France faced a dire strategic dilemma. The scars of the Great War still lingered, and the French military, though large, was tethered to outdated doctrines and equipment. The rise of Nazi Germany, with its rapidly modernizing Luftwaffe and mechanized ground forces, exposed France's vulnerabilities. The French Air Force, known as the Armée de l'Air, relied heavily on aging biplanes and underpowered fighters, ill-suited for the fast-paced, combined arms warfare emerging across Europe. The need for a versatile, modern ground attack aircraft became critical. French military planners recognized that lightly armored vehicles and infantry columns, key components of Germany's blitzkrieg tactics, were vulnerable to low-level air attacks. Yet, France lacked an aircraft capable of delivering precise, high-speed strikes while surviving the increasingly lethal anti-aircraft defenses of the late 1930s. In October 1934, the Service Technique Aéronautique, the French Aeronautical Technical Service, issued a specification for a new triplace chasse, a 3-seat strategic fighter designed to engage enemy aircraft and ground targets. This specification aimed to address the gap in France's air arsenal, calling for an aircraft that was fast, robust, and easy to maintain, capable of operating in the contested skies of a future war. Société Anonyme des Ateliers d'Aviation Louis Breguet, founded in 1911 by aviation pioneer Louis-Charles Breguet, responded to the call. Breguet Aviation was no stranger to innovation, having produced the iconic Breguet 14-day bomber during the First World War, a metal-framed aircraft that served with distinction. By the 1930s, the company had established itself as a leader in French aerospace, with a reputation for building durable, versatile aircraft. The firm's chief designer, Marcel Vuillerme, led the development of the Breguet 690 series, initially designated as the Breguet 630. Vuillerme's team faced stringent requirements. The aircraft had to weigh less than 3,500 kilograms, achieve a top speed of 480 kilometers per hour at 4,000 meters, and carry a crew of 3, a pilot, a navigator bombardier, and a rear gunner. Breguet's engineers opted for a twin-engine monoplane design, a departure from the biplanes still prevalent in French service. The aircraft featured twin tailplanes, a configuration chosen to enhance stability and reduce torque issues in the event of an engine failure. Construction of the prototype, designated Breguet 690-01, began in 1935 at Breguet's factory in Vélizy-Villacoublay, near Paris. The design process was not without challenges. The French aviation industry struggled with supply chain issues, particularly in securing reliable engines. Breguet selected the Hispano-Suiza 14 OB-02 and 03, 14-cylinder air-cooled radial engines, each producing 680 horsepower. These engines, designed to rotate inward to minimize torque, were plagued by delays, holding up the prototype's completion for 10 months. The airframe itself was a blend of traditional and modern techniques. The fuselage and wings were constructed primarily of duralumin, a lightweight aluminum alloy, with steel reinforcements in critical areas. The structure was designed for durability, with a semi-monocoque fuselage that could withstand significant battle damage. The wings, mounted mid-fuselage, featured a slight dihedral for improved stability, and the twin tailplanes were connected by a horizontal stabilizer, giving the aircraft its distinctive silhouette. The Breguet 690-01 took to the skies for its maiden flight on March 23, 1938, piloted by Breguet's chief test pilot, Anton Lebay. The flight, conducted at Vélizy-Villacoublay Air Base, revealed no major design flaws. The aircraft handled well, achieving a top speed of 490 kilometers per hour in level flight, surpassing the Podez 630, the winning design of the 1934 competition. Testing at the Centre d'Essais de Matériels Aériens, also at Vélizy-Villacoublay, confirmed the aircraft's potential. It demonstrated excellent low-altitude performance, critical for ground attack missions, and its sturdy construction allowed it to absorb simulated battle damage without catastrophic failure. The Armée de l'Air, impressed by the results, placed an order for 100 Breguet 691 OB-2 aircraft, a two-seat attack bomber variant, on June 14, 1938. This order was later doubled, as France scrambled to modernize its air force in the face of growing German aggression. The Breguet 690 series evolved through several variants, with the Breguet 693 becoming the most numerous. The 693, powered by the more reliable Gnome 14 M6 and 14 M7 radial engines, each delivering 700 horsepower, addressed the engine reliability issues that plagued the earlier 691. The airframe remained largely unchanged, but late production models introduced propulsive exhaust pipes, which marginally increased top speed by redirecting exhaust gases to augment thrust. The aircraft's armament was formidable for its class. Two forward-firing Hispano-Suiza HS-404 20mm cannons, mounted in the nose, provided devastating firepower against ground targets. A pair of 7.5mm Mach 1934 machine guns, also forward-firing, supplemented the cannons. For rear defense, a single flexible 7.5mm Mach 1934 machine gun was operated by the navigator bombardier from the rear cockpit. A fixed, rearward-firing machine gun of the same type was installed under the fuselage to deter low-flying pursuers or ground fire. The aircraft could carry an internal bomb load of 8 50-kilogram bombs, typically used in shallow dive attacks, or a combination of smaller munitions for strafing runs. The Breguet 693's technical specifications reflected its role as a light ground attack aircraft. It measured 11.4 meters in length, with a wingspan of 15.3 meters and a height of 3.2 meters. The empty weight was 3,100 kilograms, with a maximum takeoff weight of 5,500 kilograms. The Gnome engines propelled the aircraft to a maximum speed of 480 kilometers per hour at 4,000 meters, with a cruising speed of 370 kilometers per hour. Its range was 1,200 kilometers, sufficient for operations within Western Europe, but too limited for long-distance missions, such as crossing the Mediterranean. The service ceiling was 10,000 meters, though the aircraft typically operated at low altitudes, often below 500 meters, to maximize the effectiveness of its attacks. The crew consisted of two members: a pilot, who controlled the aircraft and operated the fixed forward-firing weapons, and a navigator bombardier, responsible for aiming bombs, operating the rear gun, and managing navigation. The aircraft's fuel tanks, located in the wings, had rudimentary self-sealing capabilities, and armor plates protected the crew, though these proved inadequate against the heavy anti-aircraft fire encountered in combat. Production of the Breguet 690 series was hampered by France's industrial limitations. Breguet established an assembly line at its Vélizy-Villacoublay factory, and the first production 691 flew on May 15, 1939, less than a year after the initial order. However, French engine manufacturers struggled to meet demand, and airframe production was slowed by shortages of raw materials and skilled labor. By June 1940, when France fell to Germany, fewer than 250 Breguet 690 series aircraft had been completed. The Armée de l'Air received 205 aircraft, 78 691s, 124 693s, and 3 695s, the latter fitted with Pratt & Whitney R1830 twin Wasp engines due to shortages of French engines. The Germans captured several dozen complete or near-complete aircraft at Breguet's factories, some of which were later used as advanced trainers by the Luftwaffe. The Breguet 693's combat history began in the chaotic days of the Battle of France. The aircraft was assigned to 5 groups de bombardment d'assaut or attack bomber squadrons: GBA 1st 51, GBA 2nd 51, GBA 1st 54, GBA 2nd 54, and GBA 2nd 35, each theoretically equipped with 13 aircraft. Deliveries of combat-ready 693s did not begin until March 1940, leaving crews with little time to train or develop tactics. The squadrons were based at airfields in northern France, including Reims-Champagne and Vinon-sur-Verdun, where pilots and navigators struggled with the aircraft's teething problems, particularly undercarriage failures and engine malfunctions in the earlier 691s. Despite these challenges, The aircraft was popular among its crews for its responsive handling and robust construction. Pilots noted its stability at low altitudes, a critical asset for nap-of-the-earth attacks, and the powerful Hispano-Suiza cannons earned praise for their ability to shred light armor and soft targets. The first operational sorties, on May 12, 1940, targeted German motorized columns advancing through the Liege-Tongeren Maastricht area in Belgium. GBA 1st 54 and GBA 2nd 54, based at Reims-Champagne, launched the mission, with 18 693s taking off at dawn. The aircraft approached at low altitude, skimming treetops to avoid detection, before climbing slightly to deliver their bombs and strafing runs. The German flak, particularly the 20mm and 37mm anti-aircraft guns, proved far more effective than French commanders had anticipated. 8 aircraft were shot down, and several others returned heavily damaged. Among the losses was Lieutenant Pierre Dubois, a pilot with GBA 1st 54, whose 693 was hit by flak and crashed near Tongeren. The disastrous mission forced French commanders to rethink their tactics, shifting toward night operations and higher altitude approaches to reduce exposure to ground fire. Throughout May and June 1940, the Breguet 693s flew dozens of missions, primarily in northern France and Belgium. On May 16, GBA 2nd 35 attacked German positions near Sedan, supporting French ground forces attempting to halt the Panzer advance. The squadron's 12 aircraft, led by Captain Jean Leclerc, dropped 400 kilograms of bombs on enemy artillery emplacements, but 3 were lost to flak and Luftwaffe fighters, including a Messerschmitt Bf 109 piloted by Oberleutnant Hans Müller. Crews reported intense ground fire, with navigators like Sergeant André Morrow describing the wall of tracer rounds that greeted their low-level runs. The aircraft's armor and self-sealing fuel tanks offered some protection, but the open cockpits left crews vulnerable to shrapnel and small arms fire. By June 10, as France's defenses collapsed, the squadrons had flown over 100 sorties, targeting bridges, supply depots, and troop concentrations. The cost was staggering. 104 aircraft were lost, and 14 more were written off in November 1940, most damaged beyond repair. The 5 GBAs suffered crew casualty rates of approximately 50%, with over 100 pilots and navigators killed or missing. As France neared surrender, the Armée de l'Air attempted to evacuate its modern aircraft to North Africa, hoping to continue the fight from bases in Algeria and Morocco. The Breguet 693's limited range of 1,200 kilometers made it unsuitable for the Mediterranean crossing, and most surviving aircraft were left behind. On June 25, 1940, the armistice ended the 693's combat career with the French Air Force. Unlike other French aircraft, such as the Du-10D 520, which saw limited service in North Africa, the Breguet 690 series was grounded. The Vichy government, permitted a small air force under German oversight, conducted rare training flights with the 693 and 695 at bases like Isters-le-Tourbay. After Operation Anton, the German occupation of southern France in November 1942, surviving aircraft in the Italian occupation zone were transferred to Italy. The Regia Aeronautica inspected the aircraft but deemed them unsuitable for operational use, and they were scrapped or abandoned. The Breguet 693's legacy is one of unfulfilled potential. Its robust design and effective armament made it a capable ground attack aircraft, but France's delayed rearmament and industrial shortcomings limited its impact. Fewer than 250 aircraft were built, a fraction of the thousands of fighters and bombers produced by Germany and Britain. The high loss rate, 58% of the 205 delivered, reflected the intensity of the Battle of France and the inadequacy of French tactics against modern anti-aircraft defenses. No Breguet 693s are known to survive in museums, though a single 695 airframe was displayed at the Musée de l'Air et de l'Espace in Paris until the 1960s, when it was dismantled due to corrosion. The aircraft's role was soon eclipsed by more advanced designs, such as the American Douglas 820 Havoc, which the Free French forces adopted in North Africa. In the broader context of World War II, the Breguet 693 stands as a symbol of France's struggle to modernize in the face of overwhelming odds. Its crews, many of whom trained at the École de l'Air in Salon-de-Provence, flew with courage, often knowing their missions were near suicidal. The aircraft story is preserved in French military archives, including the Service historique de la Défense at Vincennes, where logbooks and after-action reports detail the sacrifices of pilots like Lieutenant Jacques Renaud, who flew 13 sorties before his aircraft was shot down over Charleville-Mézières on May 18, 1940. The Breguet 693 may not have changed the course of the war, but it embodied the determination of a nation fighting against the tide of defeat. The Breguet 693, a fleeting thunderbolt in the skies of 1940, remains a testament to the ingenuity and bravery of those who built and flew it, etched forever in the annals of World War II aviation.